Hey, welcome back to the Stash. Spider-Man Parallel Lives is one of those special stories. It's the kind that makes you feel like you know these characters on a personal level. The kind that captures your attention and allows you to be enthralled by its tale. But most importantly, the kind that makes you love the medium even more. So Spider-Man Parallel Lives by Gerry Conway and Alex Saviuk is a graphic novel published by Marvel in the 80s shortly after Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson got married in the Amazing Spider-Man Annual issue 21. It serves as a massive one-shot that ties the pair together more closely than ever before in ways that I can only describe as masterful. Seriously, this book is a masterpiece. It's earned it in every sense of the word. From the story to the art, there's not one thing about this that isn't perfect. But hey, real quick, here at the Stash, we're swinging for 19,000 subscribers by the end of the month. Now, that's a tall order, I know, but with great power comes great responsibility, and all you gotta do is click subscribe. So, if you're into Spider-Man or just comic book deep dives like this, feel free to stick around and maybe hit that subscribe button. Also, special thanks to channel member Andres Hernandez for requesting this video and for the many months spent being a member of the Stash. And one more thing, be sure to stay to the very end because I'll be going over some of my favourite Peter and MJ comic covers from my very own personal collection for another episode of Comics from the Stash. But with that all said, let's jump right back into the video. So let's talk about it. The late 80s were an interesting time for Spider-Man. Our webhead was evolving faster than ever before. The decade in of itself was already a fantastic one too, with a plethora of great stories, but now Marvel was ready to push themselves even further. From Venom to Kraven's Last Hunt, from Todd McFarlane to Gang War. But none came close to the wedding of the decade. The wedding of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson. It was a very long-awaited move, one so impactful to fans that even 40 years later, the book still holds the same excitement it would have all those years ago. The marriage, though, undeniably gave Peter Parker something he'd never have before, stability. But that stability came with weight. You see, readers knew Peter inside and out. His tragedies, his struggles, his triumphs, but Mary Jane, she was still a mystery for the most part. All we had really seen of her past was from one issue a few years before in ASM that dived more into her abusive childhood. But we never really went far beyond that, and so that's where Parallel Lives comes in. Instead of just focusing on Peter's never-ending battles with villains, Gerry Conway and Alex Saviuk decided to do something far more intimate. They decided to show us the life of Mary Jane Watson in parallel to Peter's. Their story, their trauma, their perspectives. It creates this amazing flow when reading the book, and allows for some of my favourite pages of all time for Spidey comics. It captures their dynamics so well in ways that only further elevate their relationship. The way it was framed was perfect, but the story was even better. The book starts by digging into Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson's childhoods. MJ grew up in a fractured household with an abusive father who tore her family apart. It left scars, the kind that shape who you become. And for MJ, that meant building a mask, a party girl persona, someone who always smiled, laughed, and seemed carefree, because the reality behind closed doors was just too painful to face. And so when you line that up against Peter's childhood, the parallels become clear. Peter was the quiet bookworm, bullied and ignored, and those years shaped him into the teenager who would make the one mistake that would define the rest of his life. He became selfish in a sense, and he started to look out for only one person when he was Spider-Man, himself, and because of that, he lost Uncle Ben, and that loss changed Peter forever. The story properly displays that these two soulmates were at one point just two kids, growing up in pain and both learning to hide it in different ways. Two lives running parallel. But on that very same night, the night Uncle Ben died and Peter went out after him as the Amazing Spider-Man, this story did a retcon I believe to be one of the most brilliant additions to Spider-Man's mythos that forever changed Peter and Mary Jane Watson. We see that MJ was there. She watched from her window as Peter goes out, dressed as Spider-Man, ready to find his uncle's killer. She knows the truth before almost anyone else, before he even became a proper superhero fighting villains, and yet she says nothing. For years, MJ carried this knowledge, silently watching Peter's double life play out, struggling with her own pain and keeping that secret locked away. The story then weaves into Spider-Man's biggest villains, from Dr. Octopus to Kraven the Hunter to the Green Goblin and even to Molten Man. We see snapshots of Peter's life as a superhero, contrasted with MJ's journey of survival. She's not in a mask nor throwing punches, but she's fighting a different battle. The battle of building a life, of keeping herself together, all the while those around her continuously fall apart. These moments we see, these defining moments of Mary Jane's life, are so painfully real and captivating. From her mother's death to her sister's failed relationship, all of it is simply a true testament to how good Gerry Conway was as a writer. Eventually, we arrive to the day of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson's wedding. They stand next to each other, soon to be committed for the rest of their lives, and here we see both of their inner conflicts rise to the surface as they're about to make that choice. We see their parallels and how they not only complement each other, but also cement them as a match made in heaven. And some of the dialogue here is outstanding, but the spot that it really shined for me is the ending. So Doc Ock creates a massive plan to finally get back at the world and those who he believes ruined his life, more specifically Peter Parker and the Amazing Spider-Man. And after threatening Peter at his own home, Spider-Man pays the Mad Doctor a visit, one that would potentially be the last encounter he'd ever have with Doc Ock. After the battle, the entire thing haunts him. Those he loves almost died because of him, and so, as he was going to call the marriage off for what he believed to be MJ's own good, Mary Jane sticks by him. She opens his eyes, and the two share an embrace that I believe results in the perfect ending. Seriously, if you haven't already, you need to read this graphic novel. Not only is the importance of it unmatched, it's also just a really good read. It added so much depth to their relationship, because where it was usually just Peter's vow of responsibility that defined their relationship, it allowed Mary Jane to have a proper say in it too. It allowed MJ's vow to live, to love, to not be consumed by the past, to give their relationship more meaning. That's why Parallel Lives hits so hard. It's an exploration of masks. Peter hides behind Spider-Man, Mary Jane hides behind her smile, and only by revealing those truths can they truly grow as people and be together. This is Mary Jane's book as much as it is Peter's. I'd argue maybe even more because it redefines her in a sense. She was already a really interesting character of Spidey Comics. She pretty much stole every page she was in, and while there was some attempt to flesh her out more in certain issues, I believe it was this story to properly do that. In Parallel Lives, she was someone who endured real trauma, who bore witness to Peter's journey from the very beginning, and who made the choice to stand with him even after the chaos it can cause. And the way that Gerry Conway writes it is nothing short of masterful. There's this balance of honesty and tenderness in every line. He doesn't over-explain or sensationalize Mary Jane's pain, he instead just presents it in a way that feels deeply real and human, and that is so important. The writing gives weight to her silence, her choices, and it makes their eventual marriage feel earned in a way that few Spider-Man stories manage. But what also really elevates this book for me is the artwork. Alex Saviuk is an insanely underrated Spidey artist. He usually did the other titles running at the time like Webber's Spider-Man, but his stuff is just so good. Saviuk's art though really shines here. He draws with such clarity and emotion that every panel feels alive. His faces carry the entire weight of the story, from the sorrow in young MJ's eyes to the quiet guilt in Peter's expression, to even the way their lives seem to mirror each other even when they're apart. Not to mention how he has this ability to capture anything, no matter how small it may seem, from a glance, a smirk, a moment of hesitation. It all just sells the humanity of these characters better than 1,000 words ever could, and from the flashbacks to the present day, the art flows like a memory itself. It pulls you in, not with spectacle, but with sincerity, and when paired with Conway's script, it creates a story that feels timeless. That's what makes Parallel Lives such a hidden classic. It fills in the emotional gaps. It gives their marriage a foundation built not just on love, but on understanding. And it does so through words and images that feel inseparable, each elevating the other until you're so enthralled within the story, it feels like you're living with these characters. Spider-Man may always be about power and responsibility, But parallel lives remind us that it's also about love and survival and choosing to keep moving forward no matter how much pain you carry. Because Peter Parker deep down is a boy who lost too much too early and kept fighting anyway. And Mary Jane isn't just the girl next door, even just the party girl. She's a survivor who built herself out of broken pieces, who chose to embrace life when it would have been easier to shut herself off. Two lives running parallel, both scarred, both hiding, both searching for something to make all the hurt mean something. Two masks running parallel, one spun from webs, the other from smiles. Both meant to protect, both meant to keep the world from seeing what was really underneath. And then, in parallel, two people who finally let each other in, who decided that even with the weight of their past, even with the fear of what tomorrow might bring, they were stronger together than they could ever be apart. That's the heart of Parallel Lives. It isn't a story about Spider-Man defeating a villain or saving the city. Sure, that's there, but it's not the core of it. At its core, it's about Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson saving each other, about finding light in the darkest corners of their lives, about choosing to love when fear tells you not to. And maybe that's the greatest Spider-Man story of all. Hello, we are back by popular demand. This is another episode of Comics from the Stash. For today, we are going over some of my favorite MJ Spider-Man covers from my collection, as well as just some other Peter and MJ things that I own in terms of like collected editions and even Parallel Lives itself. So let's get right into it. Also, I made my uncle paint me a lot of covers for Peter and MJ, even her first ever comic appearance there. But yeah. All of these are my uncle's paintings, but I just had to get him to do the wedding and her first cover appearance. So what a better place to start than this beauty. I really hope you enjoyed the video I did on this, especially Andres Hernandez for requesting it. But I love this book so much. It is such a good read. Happy to own it. I did own it. Like, I read it online first, and then as soon as I finished reading it, I tracked it down as soon as I could and got myself a copy. Now this one is perhaps one of my favorite sort of more special collected editions that I've owned. It is Spider-Man The Wedding Album. I love this thing so much. You know, there was like so much love and care put into it. I love the way he collects the wedding, as well as just other bits and pieces from the entire event, such as like even the real life sort of things. Now, I do own some J. Scott Campbell covers of Mary Jane. So for this first one, we got the Amazing Mary Jane issue 1, signed by J. Scott Campbell himself. Then also, I had to stay up pretty late for this one. I waited until I think about 2 or 3 in the morning. As soon as the pre-orders went up, I got myself the bundle that I really wanted. It is for Ultimate Spider-Man. J. Scott Campbell did his 3 iconic covers. I was so happy that I managed to get this. It sold out pretty quick, I believe, as well, and it's still on the aftermarket, goes for quite a bit. We might as well get this one out of the way. It's not my favorite issue by any means. I, in fact, hate the story, but I love the cover. It is a part of the One Moment in Time storyline. This is my favorite cover out of the, I think there was like 3 of them. I love this cover. I hate the story though. This one isn't really MJ based. She's in the cover. I just think the cover overall is really cool. It is the Amazing Spider-Man issue 274. probably not a good sign that Mephisto's in this one. We got some Todd McFarlane classics coming up. So for this one, we have The Amazing Spider-Man issue 314. I love this issue. It's a pretty fun one. They get evicted from the house during Christmas. I think it was from Jonathan Caesar, who was like MJ's crazy stalker from the time. This one is, I believe, the first appearance of Sticks and Stone. It is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 309. Nice Todd McFarlane cover. Yeah, MJ looks great in this. Spidey looks pretty good. Sticks and Stone are also there. Not many people really know about them, but they were pretty, important. I know they weren't that important, but they were pretty, popular, I guess, during the time, or Marvel tried to make them popular. Now, there isn't really many MJ-centric covers where it's just basically her. There's one in Spectacular Spider-Man, I think issue 220, but I don't have that issue, sadly. But the next best thing I do have is Web of Spider-Man issue 42, where she's doing a modeling shoot. This next one, though, is pretty big. It's a John Romita Sr. classic cover. It is the first cover appearance of Mary Jane Watson as well. It's The Amazing Spider-Man issue 59. Then we got a really nice cover here. It is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 290. Peter Parker pops the big question. Pretty sure it dragged on for a little bit until she actually said yes, because Smythe was involved and, he's pretty lame all around. I love that time, though, during that era where, like, each Marvel comic at the back had the "You're invited to the wedding." That was so cool. I love seeing that. Now, this one is possibly my favorite cover out of all of them. Not only is it my favorite cover, I love this story a lot. It was during a rough time. MJ just basically had her stillborn, and this sort of issue was just about them coming together again and moving forward together as a couple. It is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 241. I love this one so much. Now, last but definitely not least, I had to pick this one. I do have both variants, but out of the two, I just always show off this one instead. I think it's the better one. It is The Amazing Spider-Man Annual, issue 21. Classic cover, classic story. I wish Marvel would just go back to this. Yeah, I miss it so much. But that has been it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've all enjoyed. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe, because here, any support truly does mean the world to me. That has been another episode of Comics from the Stash. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.